Good evening. I'm Rafael Martinez, and this will end in darkness. The world is feeling the effects of one truly magnificent person that we have lost. A person that was admired both politically, sometimes culturally, known for being a pretty, what's the word I'm looking for, Bobby? Elegant, important, vital, trailblazing woman. First, I believe, female Secretary of State. Could be wrong. This isn't a place of facts. One, Madeline Albright. Madeline Albright. She was one of the very few ladies that would appear on my TV from time to time talking politics. She'd be on Real Time with Bill Maher, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. Lots of Democratic shows, very rarely on a Fox show. They didn't want that heat. But Madeline was vital. She was part of many White Houses. I don't even remember what White House she was part of. She was probably Clinton's, right? I think so. But I remember her always being around. Definitely Clinton. Because she was loved by Democrats. And quite frankly, when someone like this leaves the world stage, the world does feel it. Everyone felt it when Donald Rumsfeld died. There was a great war criminal. One of the best. So many places in the world affected by our dear Donald. So many countries still living with Donald's legacy. Madeline, same thing. Axe the Balkans. Madeline Albright was someone who you can count on to truly toe the line. During the war in Iraq, she was one of the WMD believers. Pushed that narrative as much as she could. I remember on CNN, a young guy asked her, what about Indonesia? What about Israel? What about other places in the world that were committing gross war crimes against their own people, humanitarian tragedies? What about them? Do we attack them too? And she said, well, America hates tragedy and they hate, illegal acts of violence. But surely Saddam Hussein's the worst. He has to be stopped. Said that with a straight face. Guy went, okay, that's cool. But we are allies with Saudi Arabia, who are doing a genocide currently in Yemen. We are friends with Israel, who mistreats the Palestinians. So wouldn't there be a consistency of, hey, if we're going to do it to Iraq, why not them too? She, with a straight face, said, I never thought I'd live to see the day where you defended Saddam Hussein. That was not the point of what he was getting at. It's not the point of what I'm getting at. It's not about defending Saddam. It's just asking for consistency. Seems to be an issue, it seems. It's unfortunate. But it's all about consistency. That's how you succeed. That's how we're told you succeed. Consistency. Do you want it enough to be the best? Do you want to make sure your will is done throughout the place you cohabitate with everyone else, like your community, your country, your world? Do you want the power? And Madeline enjoyed that power. She enjoyed what respectability got her. You couldn't question Madeline Albright, especially during the war in Iraq. She was clearly a sensible Democrat. So if she thinks it needs to be done, well, then maybe we should tone it down and give Bush a chance. She was part of that. And then when, Trump became president, she certainly made sure her voice was known, acting as if somehow Bush was better. I would argue not. Trump got nothing done. He didn't do anything. George Bush did a lot of things. Difference. You can hate them both, but there's a difference. Do you hate the guy who got the most done or the least done? The tweets were bad. Trump's tweets were bad. I'm not arguing that. But so was the war on terror. So was bailing out the banks. People always credit that with Obama, and it's fair. He got hit with that hard. But all that deregulation, all that other shit starts with Bush. It starts with Clinton. People liked Clinton. Not so much anymore. Me Too's really made sure of that. George is now having his day in the sun. People think, oh, how quaint it was to just have a dumbass president, not necessarily a megalomaniac president. But if I'm being honest with you, this old fuck ain't doing much either, Joe Biden. It's all about perception, I guess, and what you project. It's all about the narrative. What story can you tell? We're all addicted to stories. That's a fact. We spend every day looking for stories on social media. Things that are different from outside of our life. Things that could transport us somewhere else. It's why we like a good gimmick. It's why we like a good grift. Good cons. It's why we fall into beliefs and ideologies. Because there's a good story attached to it. Why not? Real life is boring as we're learning. And it's no fault of our own. This is just what happens. We live in a highly insecure society. Nothing feels safe. And you'd go as far back as post-World War II. The greatest generation came home, and they were certainly proud of themselves. They certainly thought they achieved something by going to World War II, and they did. They took down evil. World War II has the best movies for the most part because it's very clearly defined who's good and evil. You can't really do a Shades of Grey movie in World War II. You really can't. Because history has defined who's bad and who's good. War in Iraq is a little different. People walked into it feeling a little murky. Same thing with Vietnam. You can play around with the complex tensions of it. Can't do it World War II. Cannot do it World War II. Makes sense. Things were simpler then. The 60s came, we went to the moon. So not only did we conquer evil, we conquered space. We pushed farther than anyone had ever pushed before. The 70s, we expanded our mind. Lots of drugs, lots of rock and roll. Then there was the gas crisis. That was rough. Jimmy Carter never really got a second shot, which is unfortunate. He deserved a second shot, I think. Was it all entirely his fault? What happened? What can you do? When you're the president of a gas crisis, people have a short-sighted memory of what it used to be like. So we fall apart and we kind of... That's right. That was a weird burp kind of thing. Accept it. But then at some point in the 70s, we hit rock bottom. We realized that we went too far into the nihilistic roots. Or not routes. Roots still works though, right? I've heard route and root. Alright, I'm keeping it. I don't give a fuck. Anyway. We ended up in the dark spots. So what was going to save us? American exceptionalism. We went hard in the 80s. Cocaine, crack. Dreams of grandeur. It couldn't go down. We needed to be uplifted from a shitty standpoint of the 70s. So we took in the 80s, we embraced it. It's what we needed to get out. We realized at that point being too real about everything wasn't fun. So you needed Back to the Future, Karate Kid, all the classics. We were in the middle of a generational war then too. Gen X was feeling some type of way about the boomers. But of course, Gen X ended up being right, haven't they? Because the 90s came and the good times were kind of over. Reality hit you in the face a little bit. It wasn't a full-on rock bottom. It was sobering, the 90s. Because now you start to realize how everything worked. Because the 80s boom showed you how easy it was to get rich in America if you lied and you cheated and you stealed. But the 90s were a sobering up of that idea. Like, oh, that's kind of how it works. And if you notice, everything in terms of movies, TV shows, all like anti-corporations, anti-capitalist, do DIY. If only we could all be in communes, being nice to one another. You know, fucking Woodstock comes back. We all start reverting back to the good times of the 60s or the mind-expanding 70s, thinking that had the answers. But what they fail to realize is when things get too real, they get too dark, and they're not fun anymore, are they? So we looked at the year 2000 and thought things were going to be great then. And we're going to be a generation that gets it right. 1900 didn't get it right. We're going to get it right. That always seems to be the standpoint of the next generation. We're going to get it right. Then 2001 happens. First year into the new century, 9/11, War on Terror, gone. All that promise hit with the reminder of how the world kind of works. That it doesn't operate on hopes and dreams, only hardcore geopolitical realities. Unfortunate, but part of the game. And we've been playing the game long enough, haven't we? All through the 2000s, you saw this cling to youth in a way that had never been done before. Wait, I can own an Infinity Gauntlet and pay my bills? Why not? I can retain aspects of my childhood. Things now grow up with me. Why grow up at all? Why not be a sneakerhead for the rest of my life? Why not make the Marvel content my Bible forever? Franchises don't need to die. Nothing needs to end. We talked about that recently. Sometimes things have to end. But it didn't have to anymore. And our excuse was we didn't have a childhood. Our economy was terrible. The world was frightening after 9/11. We didn't get to have a childhood. You know who didn't get to have a childhood? The kids in Kandahar didn't get to have a childhood. If you got to watch Next or Your Mama or any afternoon of TRL, you had a childhood. You had one. If you didn't like it, you might have to ask yourself some questions. What were you lacking? Certainly wasn't the resources. I lived in a country where I can just turn on and watch Jackass at any time. MTV2 is running them all the time on the marathon. And it was great. It was truly what society was meant to be. Watching people destroy themselves on television. Like now. At this moment, you're watching me destroy myself. I'm fine with it. It's all going to hell in a handbasket anyway. Now we're just people who we didn't figure out where we were supposed to go because none of the information was open to us. So we claim. I'm half and half on that. But we did have the internet, didn't know how to use it. So we had to invent the language and the framework in which the internet was used for the next generation. And we aren't happy about it. We're a little upset that we didn't become the world changers. We're a little upset that we weren't the ones to set the tempo for the next part of the century. That if anything, it was on our backs that it got built on for Gen Z. I don't mind it. Because when you look at history, you're only here for a short chapter in it. Play your part. Don't bitch about it. Play your part. Nothing you can really do at that point. And there was a bitterness there that a lot of them feel that's very boomerish. Like, I see it now. All these kids don't know what it was like when I was a kid. Who fucking cares? Good. I lived with dial-up. I never want another child to know what dial-up was like. It was fucking horrifying. It could all end with someone answering the phone in your home. Be in the middle of a spicy, text conversation on AIM. And it's gone like that. And you didn't write down her screen name. You were just in the chat room chilling. You guys went into a separate chat. And then gone. Because someone answered the phone. Dark times. Dark times. If there's anything that my generation gets off on most is motivation. Vibes. This idea that we need to be our own bosses. We need to be building empires. So we turn to people like Gary Vee and Simon Sinek and Kim Kardashian. Yes, I would put Kim Kardashian in the same category as Gary Vee. It's very easy. One, Gary Vee was given his business by his father. Kim Kardashian was given her platform by her father, his money. That's why she was known. Gary Vee took his dad's business, which was failing, modernized it, put it online, which everyone was doing. It wasn't like Gary was the first. Everyone was doing this with all old businesses. He just figured out how to do content with it, which would have happened eventually anyway. Wasn't like he figured something out, really. It was already going there. He just caught the wave. Kim Kardashian had her sexual agency taken from her by her ex-boyfriend Ray J, who was the famous person in that couple. People forget that. She sued him, now gets profits off the sex tape because she took back her sexual agency legally and financially. Flip that into a media empire. What's the difference? Respectability politics. That's it. You just don't like the way she made money. And if anything, I'd argue she did a better job than Gary. I can sense her influence more in the world than Gary Vee's influence. People who pump up Gary Vee, where are their success stories? I've never seen one person who followed Gary Vee's advice and is now a super success. I haven't seen one person go, hey, it's because of Gary. If Gary didn't come in and tell me such great gems. Oh man, let's pull up the great gems. I have a little bit of a list here. Because here's the thing. Sometimes Gary might say something that's truthful. How about this? Very quickly, I can tell you that you need to get every voice out of your head besides yourself, and you need to love yourself. Holy shit. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. Learn the work ethic and skills that match your ambition. Fucking deep, yo. Like that? Come on, that's deep. Come on. Don't look at me like that, Bobby. That's some real shit. I'm driven by gratitude and compassion, but I'm also a competitor. So you're a person. So you're an everyday person. When you have people coming up to you wanting to shake your hand, take a photo. It's better than having $1 million. Then give away the millions, Gary. You don't need it. You don't need it. Give it away. If the pictures make you whole, then you don't need the millions of dollars. Just start giving it away. Because at least then, Gary would be living his bullshit. Gary will tell you how to run a business, but he won't pay his employees a reasonable wage. Several people who work for Gary will tell you that. How's that any different than anytime people bring up Kim Kardashian's productions and how they had to work overtime and had to stay later than they should have and missed family gatherings and all that? Same thing. They do the same business. Gary's in content. She's in content. There's no difference, except you don't like the fact that she got to use her body to make the money. You don't like that part. And that's a you problem, not a Kim Kardashian problem. So to be honest with you, when Kim Kardashian says, get up and work, bitch, it's just as valid as anything Gary Vee says. They both started on third. They both had the best platform to get started for their businesses. Fair is fair. Fair is fair. They're both in the same business of giving basic bitches hope that they won't stay basic bitches. And I mean that for both genders. Because dudes fucking love Gary. That's their guy. And he motivates them to do what? Who the fuck knows? But if you look at a guy like Gary and a girl like Kim, they build a mythology around them. And they always talk about vibes and having like spiritual help of some kind. Even if they're agnostic, they like to mention that part. Because there's a part of them that realizes, oh, I'm full of shit. And I need to believe this happened for a reason. Something bigger than just me being good at the game. Or me just being a good manipulator of my situation. That's all it is. It's not different at all. And they're not the only ones doing it. Everyone does it. We used to joke so much about how Republicans were so tied to Christianity. We used to joke about how religious people held crazy beliefs. But half of you can't even hold down the beliefs you have this week for next week. You don't even believe the things you believed last week. Because we're all looking for an ideology to believe in. It's easy to believe in Gary Vee because he's there in front of you. And you know how he makes you feel when he says all these beautiful words about being motivated and being strong. But here's the thing. You're not in Gary's shoes. And you're probably never gonna be. Not everyone can be their own boss. But everyone can be an insta-thought like Kim Kardashian. I've seen those women. They're everywhere. Hence her influence. Far more influential than Gary Vee. And I guarantee you there are dudes who are going to seethe at that shit. They're going to be pissed when they see this shit. Good. Be pissed. Sorry. Toni Storm, pro wrestler, just started OnlyFans. Respectability Wrestling Twitter came out of nowhere. Oh, she's just giving away her dignity. Giving away her dignity? Have you looked around? There's no dignity left anymore. There's no dignity in society anymore. The second we got social media, all dignity was gone. Now our entire lives are on fucking social media. Talk about dignity? Every dumbass thought you have is now on Twitter. Thoughts you haven't even fully really given time to let simmer, but you threw them out there because they're good for a tweet and you want the likes. Wrestling trolls, they know what they were doing. Oh, how could she do that? How dare she use her body to make money? You mean how dare she use something that she sculpted herself in the gym to make money? How dare she? What are you doing? How are you making your money? I don't begrudge anyone how they make their money. I don't. You figured out how to get past the grift. You figured out where the money was. Congrats. I respect it. I respect it. We said it beginning of this season. America is a gangster's paradise, and it is. Get yours while you can. Kim got hers. Gary got hers. You're going to get yours. And you're not going to get yours by listening to them. You're not. You have to use them for what they are. Oh, that's a nice reminder. Thank you. I forgot to work today. But I'll tell you this. Kim Kardashian is more legit than Gary Vee. I'm with Kim. Eric Weinstein. There was a time where white boys were on his dick for a while. Super smart, ain't no jack shit about shit. He couldn't answer a question directly at all. There were always these elongated answers with they didn't go anywhere. All to say he didn't know. Then he comes with this geometric fucking theory of whatever, and every scientist pans it and he gets upset. As if he expected that when he was going to release this paper, we would just sit down and suck his dick and go, great job, Eric. You did it. You're so smart. Because Joe Rogan told you you're smart. Or because Clubhouse thinks you're smart, which is filled with a bunch of losers anyway. That wake up and say, hey, good morning, legends. Not all of you are going to be legends. Someone has to lose so you can win. Remember that. That's the laws of nature. Some animals get more resources, the others don't. It happens. Everyone wants to pretend the jungle's this fucking beautiful place like it's in The Lion King. No, the hyenas got it right. You got to get yours. Not to say you can't believe in making a place better, but how are you going to make it better if you're not any better? See, what I can be, Gary Vee. I'm talking shit right now. It sounds pretty logical, doesn't it? One of my favorites, Simon Sinek. I follow him on Twitter. Because what I love about him is that he says the most basic shit and he makes it sound so good. He puts it on a nice graphic on Instagram with nice fonts. You know what I mean? You buy into it because you're like, oh, wow, this is a good presentation. And maybe that's what it comes down to, presentation. Like we said with Madeline Albright. She presented herself as someone with dignity and not a war criminal. So maybe that's what it comes down to. Let's hit with the best Simon Sinek stuff. We know something is good when we're eager to share it. Yeah? Okay. We can drive sales, but we must earn loyalty. Oh, fuck, this guy's so good. Success can be dangerous. It has a tendency to shut our eyes to opportunity and cover our ears to others. Oh my God. He's so right, dude. Innovators are the ones who dream. Sorry, I don't want to misquote him. The innovators are the ones whose dreams are clearer than the reality that tells them they're crazy. Well, fuck yes, Simon. What business did you start? Oh, you were just always a motivational speaker? Nice. Cool. So you didn't do shit. You found a way to say basic ass principles you could learn from your parents in a much more flowery way, and that's how you're making money. What a grift. And it's the best grift. I don't begrudge it. It's a pity that people use this like a religion. This hustle religion. No, all grind, no sleep. That doesn't work after a while. Because here's the thing, right? Statistically speaking, you're not going to be the success that Gary thinks you can be, right? Or Simon thinks you can be. What happens then? Well, they start selling you more shit. Oh, this package didn't work for you? Try this package. This book didn't work for you? I've got another book coming out for you. You know who else does that? Scientology. Just when things aren't working out and you're starting to waver a little bit, you know what it is? You're not on class 9, bro. If you get on class 9, it's so much clearer. It makes so much more sense. And it's why I respect Scientology. Because they took the best parts of religion, the best part of business, and put it together in something beautiful. In something that is so beautiful of a grift. Oh. And the fact they got celebrities involved in it makes it even better. They targeted the right people. Because we haven't figured out this very, very simple concept that all your prophets are false prophets. They're all false prophets. They don't know. They don't know any more than you don't know. They're not leading necessarily all that more extravagant lives. Yeah, they're going on trips and shit, but spiritually speaking, you're probably more filled than they are. If we're talking morality, if we're talking what it is to me, what it is to be spiritual. But for them, they're always on the run. They're always on to the next grift. What makes them whole is the audience. That's what does it for them. And because we're such an insecure generation or insecure populace, we need it because we killed Jesus and we replaced him with Gary Vee. We replaced him with Kim Kardashian. We replaced the Holy Mother with Kim Kardashian. It's why I argue Meghan Markle is not American royalty. What was she on, Suits? Who the fuck cared about Suits? If you cared about Suits, you were a pedophile. Because those are the only people who watch those USA dramas, pedophiles. Because they were home all the time, waiting for the kids to get out of school. If you were heavily invested in the USA Network universe, holy shit. I'd see somebody about that. But there is no difference in any of it. They're all false prophets. And it's okay if you use them for what they're there for. Entertainment. If you use them for what they're there for. To make you feel good for a brief moment. Because the truth is, there is no plan. There's nothing. Just you. I know people whose entire life they'll always go, I don't need a plan B. I'm going straight for it. Okay. They've been going straight for it for 15 years. Nothing's happened. I think you need a plan B. I think you needed something. Maybe it's not the talent. Maybe it's the work ethic. Are you doing it? No? Okay. That's really what it comes down to. It's all the work ethic. I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that I could be different places if I had put the work in. That was only the thing that was required for me, putting the work in. But now here I am on WRKM doing this fucking show. And I don't, listen, let's keep it a buck now. I'm not saying Gary didn't work. It takes a lot to exploit people. It is not an easy task. Running a cult is not easy. Jim Jones taught me that. You know how hard it is to get a bunch of people who've been going to church with you for a few Sundays to go to Guyana and drink some Kool-Aid and a mass suicide? Not easy, and not everyone wanted to either. Some didn't want to do it. Some he convinced, others he forced. Granted, tragedy, but respect the hustle, he pulled that one off. I'm pretty sure that's what Gary would like to do. That's the next step for Gary. It's the next step for Simon. Commune, religion. It's what they've built. They give you proverbs to live by. Not different than the New Testament, not different than the Torah, the Quran, or any of these other books. So keep it a buck. You're in a religion. We're all in a religion. Countries are a religion. You're paying tithings to America for the American religion. If I keep paying my taxes, things will happen. The God that is fucking government will give me what I need. It's all false prophets. And there's a power in that for the everyday person if you accept it. If everyone's a false prophet, then you realize these are just really good ideas, not ideologies to follow. And when you have good ideas, you stop yourself from becoming radical. And you realize that it's better to have a good idea than a belief, because you can change an idea if it's wrong, but a belief, it's harder to break. Ask anyone who's ever left the church. Those people struggle with it and still do because they built their life on it. I see people with the rise and grinds every morning. Bro, that's the same thing as God bless me with another day. It's no different. And this is not, and listen, if it's what gets you through the day, that's cool. But just be honest about it. I'm honest about everything I fucking believe. Yeah, I believe in God. That's for me, not for anyone else. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else. That's worked out for me. There are things I believe about the economy. There are things I believe about government. They're my beliefs, and I've bought into them. I try to keep them as ideas as much as I can, but it's a little hard. We all struggle with it. We all want there to feel like there's a right way to do it, so we buy into mythologies. Jordan Peterson talks about it all the time. It's what Gary, Kim, and Simon all sell you. A mythology of what you're missing. You know, Jordan goes into, well, you know, it's all the hero's journey, you know. And sometimes you're born as Abel and everyone around you is Cain. And you have to be careful because they see your righteousness because you've upheld values and you believe in a higher power than yourself. And that's what gives you meaning. And then the Cains, they all look at you and are jealous of you because you're so peaceful and you're so focused on your intentions and you make them happen. And then they come at you and they murder you in their mediocrity and they bring you down. But you have to fight back. You got to slay the dragon. And then you go into the woods and there's gremlins that want to eat your soul. This is what's going on now. This is what it is now. Everyone fucking talks like this shit now. Because everyone's building a mythology. Shared universes, baby. They figured out we're back in. People look at Chris Evans to be fucking Captain America on Twitter all the fucking time. So of course when you tweet shit that's pro-social justice and shit or anything that's hot in the moment, well, that's our Captain America. But you probably have no idea the bones that are in that motherfucker's basement, that if they came out, it would fuck your shit up. We need things to believe in. We need pagan rituals. We need pagan idols. We need to feel like there's something in it for all of us. We need to feel that there's a plan. And if we believe and if we hold on, everything's going to work out fine. But it doesn't. What I'm arguing for is just to keep it a buck with yourself. Am I doing everything I can to be whatever it is I think I'm going to be? Because Gary Vee can't give that to you. Kim Kardashian can't give that to you. Simon can't give it. They can tell you all the advice in the world. They can't give that to you. Only your experiences can. And we live vicariously through all these other fucking people. Through all these proverbs handed down to us by people who started on third base, who had nothing but privilege. And they sell us this bootstraps mentality, which was originally a joke. It's impossible to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It started as a Republican joke and then became a thing that they parrot as a serious point now. And listen, you've heard me on this show plenty of times. I don't fucking, give white privilege too much shit. Because my opinion, if it wasn't white people, it would have been another culture anyway. No culture ever sat there going, man, this is enough land. Well, this is enough resources. Slavery, we'll never do that. They all did it. Everyone's got blood on their hands. But what I am arguing is that if you accept these things and just come to terms with where you're at in all of them, it makes your station in life a lot easier to deal with. Like, I work in a business and sales, and everyone thinks there's these grandiose ideas of how you make a sale and how you keep a client. What it really comes down to is, hey, do you have that thing? No, I don't have that. Okay, next client. Hey, do you have that thing? I do have that thing. Do you want to rent it? I do want to rent it. When do you want it? These dates. That's it. It's no secret. Selling what you have, not selling what you don't have. Telling the truth. It's so fucking weird how all of sales is not built on the truth, yet the truth will actually get you to sale more often than not. Because salesmen want to feel like they're in on the grift. A company wants to feel like it's gotten over on people. That's how it works. Everyone wants to get over on someone. We're all involved in the grift. We're all playing grifts on one another. Our friends are full of shit, but we love them for the times they're not. But we know they're going to be full of shit eventually when they cancel last minute on things, or they do something fucked up and have some lazy ass excuse. That's the best part of friendship, to me, is seeing how they wiggle around that shit, using the authenticity you already have. The understanding that you already have. We do it every day. We make these trade-offs of what we're willing to accept. Who we're willing to accept things from. All based on our own politics. And it's why I think more and more I kind of defend Kim Kardashian a bit. Because I think she got an unfair card dealt to her there. Where once it was because of a sex tape, both men and women kind of turned on her. And people would say, oh, she changed the way bodies are looked at. Okay, fine. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. If you're about 300 pounds, I don't find you attractive. And I hate to body shame that way, but dude, it's not healthy. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's not fucking healthy. As someone who's fucking 207 pounds, I am not any healthier than I would have been at fucking 190. I am fucking unhealthy. Nowhere near fucking healthy. Stop playing the fucking game. Stop lying. Body positivity only starts because we want to sell ourselves the grift that it's not us, it's everyone else. We pick and choose these philosophies all the fucking time. And if we were just more honest about it, we would deal with each other differently. I know you're fucking me because of this. That's fine. What's the median point in where I get fucked less and you feel like you got over a little bit? Because that's the only trade-offs you're making. Someone always has the power dynamic. No one walks away with a satisfied deal on both ends. People say that, but they don't. They don't. Even if it's a 0.5% power leverage, someone's got it. And it's at their mercy in which they use it or not. Gary's not going to teach you that. Gary's not going to teach you that. Kim's not going to teach you that. Simon's not going to teach you that. Because they want you to believe you're special and you're the one that's going to run the empire. And you are going to be the one that wins and you're not going to lose. But the truth is, they're all in on the grift. They all know they're full of shit. And I respect it. They're the most zealoty people you'll ever meet. You ever seen people who have NFTs and how I talk about NFTs like it's the future? Some of them are pretty alright, balanced individuals. The other ones are zealots because they've bought in hard. And they know if this goes belly up, it's over. It's the same with crypto people. It's all faith-based. Our economy's all faith-based. Our government's all faith-based. Everything's off faith. But yet we're surrounded by nothing but false prophets. I'll tell you what I'm buying into. Jusse Smollet. Genius. He got convicted being guilty recently. He sat there and said, Your Honor, I respect the court's decision, but I am not suicidal. I repeat, he told the judge, I respect your decision, but I am not suicidal. Genius. He's now created a new narrative for himself. If something happens to him, it's now seen like an Illuminati ploy. Like he had to be stopped because Jusse knew too much. He knows about the inner conspiracy that was bringing him down, so they had to silence him. Or if it doesn't happen, he gets to eventually be Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson convicted of a crime. Now, everyone loves him. Jusse knows he's got time now. So you gotta set the narrative off right. Your Honor, I respect your decision, but I am not suicidal will be a parody skit on SNL in 15 years. Mark this date down, I predicted it. He was smart. He gave us a moment because he knows it's all about moments and content. And it's what Gary talks about. Content is king and marketing is queen. Maybe Gary's right. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, I'm an idiot. I'm broke. Don't listen to me. But Jusse Smollet, genius. Absolute genius. Now like if he dies, he's Epstein level now. The way to do it, now if he was committed, he'd kill himself. Hang himself. Not saying I want him to, but that's how you do the gimmick fully. Do you want to ride out on it? And he was never going to admit he wasn't guilty anyway. There's no money in that. The money's in the chase. You want to chase him. You want to, he's got to get his. He's already out of jail. Oh, we got to get Jusse back. He lied to all of us. We got to get him back. It's why we cancel people. We can't do anything to them, so we just cancel them. We get him off Twitter. We get him, booked off shows and all that. It's how we get him because the money's in the chase. We got to chase the rabbit and massacre it. Even though some of these people do deserve to be canceled, but you know what I mean. We are also savage beast. This is the full of shit era, and you know what? You got to use it to your advantage. There's a woman who recently killed her husband because she thought he was cheating, and it was because she saw pictures of him with a skinnier woman that turned out to be her years ago. Embarrassing. Very embarrassing. But if I'm her lawyer, I already know what my case is. I stand before the jury and go, ladies and gentlemen, Rafael Martinez, and I want to talk to you about my client. I want to talk to you about how she was in a relationship with a man and they were in love. Those two had spent many great years together. So much that a lot changed in that time. When my client saw those pictures and didn't recognize herself, that was trauma. Yes, that was trauma that she blocked out. And to be honest, him having those pictures says to me he was looking to body shame her. And that's a problem. You look at a murder. I look at a protest. Or I see a protest. Right then I lost the case. But I see a protest for body positivity. She would not stand to have those pictures thrown in her face. Now, I know my client has already admitted that she confused herself in that picture, but that is also trauma. And she is also not suicidal. So I think you'll see that my client was in the right in just defending her truth and defending her energy. And unless you have lived experience, you don't know what that feels like. Have you walked in the shoes of a fat Guatemalan woman? I think not. I think not. Some of you look at my client and go, what happened? And I can sit here and tell you what happened, but that wouldn't matter. I can tell you what did happen in this regard. Her husband made her feel away. And if there's anything I know about life now, thanks to Twitter, when someone makes you feel away, you gotta make them feel away back. Now, I don't think I would win the case on that argument, but at the very least, you gotta go for it. Right? I'm not wrong. It's a fair argument. But in a world where everything's made up and everything's not real, fucking go for it. And I guarantee you, at least 15 people will agree with that whole breakdown of events, that murder was actually a body positivity protest. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. But in essence, in a place where nothing is real, deal with it. Start your own grift. Figure out how you will dupe people out of money. I know I am. When this Patreon starts, you'll know what's up. There will be tears. The Church of Darkness will get its money. That's a long time from now. Let's close with another Gary V proverb. You can't live your life based on other people's point of view. I am tired of people not starting and living their life on one very simple thing, which is they're worried about what other people think. How about that? Don't worry about what other people think. He could have got that done in a few words, but he found a way to make it a quote. Proverbs. Amen. But I think we all know how this one is going to end.